Unisaw reassembly, here we go. First part, the front trunnion bracket, you put right in the machine, and then you bring the yoke assembly through the motor door upside down, shaft on top. You put the shaft through the front tilt hole, and then you rotate. And then you can get the machined ways all lined up properly, and then you can just drop the back trunnion bracket in and get those machined ways lined up. Okay, so I'm working on putting the motor pulley on the motor shaft, and then we'll put the motor on the machine as I'm reassembling everything. One of the important things is to follow the instructions in the manual as far as how far the pulley should be set off from these mounting brackets. This provides a reference point then for when you mount the motor into the machine, and then as far as moving the arbor bracket up here left or right to align the pulleys. The reference point for everything is the distance that the pulleys are from the mounting bracket on the motor. So I'm just going to make sure to align that right, and then everything should go pretty smoothly. So here I've got the new motor, a 2 horsepower Leeson single phase motor, and I'm going to put the motor pulley on. Got to put the key in the keyway, and then there's a set screw. But the key here again is measuring from the mounting brackets on the motor using a combination square and a straight edge ruler, and then get that measurement just right, tighten down the set screw, and then you're ready for install. But again, that key measurement needs to be precise for installation. And now we're to install of the motor. I've got this process down pretty quickly. There is a way that the manual talks about you can tilt the machine on the side, but sometimes, usually I find this way easier. I just take the motor in my hands and sit on my rolly stool, and then bring the motor into the cabinet, bracing with my hands and knees, and then put the pin through the hole, tap it all the way through, and then the motor can hang there. And then I tighten the bolt in the up position so the motor stays up, and then lower the shaft down so that I can get the belts on. There's 3 belts, and you just sort of walk them from one pulley to the next so you can get all 3 aligned, all 3 installed, I should say. And then once all 3 are installed, then we can adjust that bolt and drop the motor down to get the tension on the belts just right, and then tighten everything back up. And then I like to check my alignment of the motor pulley and the arbor bracket pulley. So here I've got a straight edge, and I'm checking to see that the pulleys line up, and they do. One other thing I just wanted to mention here is I've added a new step to my tabletop process. I still start with an angle grinder with a flexible abrasive pad that doesn't dig into the top, but then I've started to wet sand with WD-40 with a random orbit after that. I found that the slurry that's created really does a good job of removing any scratch patterns and removing any deeper marks that perhaps weren't removed with the first round. So then after the wet sanding, then obviously I use a rag to remove any of that slurry and check everything out, and then decide if I need to go another round or go to dry sanding. But this really has helped speed up the process even more. I'm pretty happy with that step, adding it in there. So now with the tabletop all cleaned and rust removed, now I've installed the center section, and I'm just hand tightening the 4 bolts at each corner. And now I'm getting ready to install the wings, and I do one at a time. Obviously, I use my rolly stool, and start with sort of bracing them, almost like you would with a waiter's tray, sort of holding it with your arm and your shoulder, and then hand tighten the bolts. And then once they're hand tightened, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side to get both wings at least on. And once both wings are on, then I'll come back around and work on the fine adjustments to make sure that the wings are in line with the tabletop. And I do so by usually starting with the back and using my finger to test flushness. And then once the back is good, I snug that up, but not too tight. Then I move to the front and align that and really tighten that one down, and then go back to the back and adjust if necessary. Sometimes just a few taps up or down with your palm can do so, or you can get a mallet out or a block of wood and a hammer. And then once front and back's good, then I tighten the middle. And then I just check and then go to the other side and do the same thing. So again, I'm going to start with the back and get that close, testing with my finger for flushness. Then move to the front and tighten that one down pretty tight. Again, a few taps either way can help. And then return to the back to check to see if the back moved at all. And then tighten the back down and then the middle, and then a few more rounds on the front, and we're good. And in the last video for this Delta rebuild, we'll do some electrical and final adjustments.